So today's been a day of a lot of things worthy of a story time. We've had a lot of drama today between rental cars and hotels. Today's the anniversary of Mom's death. And so Dad and I were off early this morning working at something, a community event my church puts on called the Back to School Bash. That was great. We boogied on out of there right after that to go to the airport to fly to Buffalo to see some friends and family and kind of change the script of what today was. So it's not the anniversary of Mom's death. We were looking to, do some things and see some people and all that sort of stuff. So we get to the Buffalo airport. Flight was good, no problems there. Get to the Buffalo airport and go out. I'm Avis preferred. Go out to the Avis booth, and there are more people waiting by the Avis car rental booth in the parking deck than there were in the actual Buffalo airport. There were large groups of people sitting all around, and one big long line for one solitary employee who's in the booth attempting to take care of people. And we waited and waited, and somebody was kind of irate with another employee that was walking around about, he was like, "You'll get the car you reserved." So I feel like people weren't getting cars, or they didn't have the right kind of cars. And so I'm a little worried because my plan was to go and meet a friend for dinner, and I was hungry at this point, hadn't had anything but a hot dog at the Back to School Bash, and was ready to have a nice dinner and see my friend, and eager to get settled. And we waited my turn, and while it's almost my turn, the lady that was in front of me comes back with her keys, and she says, "There's no car there." So I knew there was a problem with cars, and Dad's laughing. And looking around, there were return cars parked everywhere with their four-way flashers on, like just parked everywhere. And none of them ever moved the whole time we were there because they were too overwhelmed trying to get people cars. And so I had booked a larger SUV because we're going to be doing a lot of driving. We're also driving to Albany to see Miss Tunney. So I had booked a larger SUV, but the guy says, "If you'll take a Mazda CX-50, I can get you out of here right now. Do you need the 7 seats?" I said, "No, I don't need the 7 seats." So I was happy. So he gave me the car. I go down there, and it's totally blocked in. There's 20 cars in the way that have been returned that are all with the flashers on, with no conceivable way out. But I thought, well, okay, I'll load my luggage up, and we'll see if we can, maybe they'll make room. So I load the luggage up, and I'm waiting to see if something will clear out so I can get out. And I can't get the screen on in the car. The screen that lets you do CarPlay and stuff, which isn't a big deal. It's the radio, all that. None of that would come on at all. And I'm holding the button. I'm turning the button on. I've had Mazda rentals before. There was a security guard that was walking by, and I said, "How can I get my car out?" And he said, "Give me a minute." And then stupidly, I asked him about the screen, and he played with the screen for probably 5 or 10 minutes. And I finally was like, don't worry about the screen. It's not a big deal. So we left. Well, I was ready to leave, and he went and got keys to the car that was immediately in front of me. Although if the one in front of me had moved, I don't know what my next move would have been, because every direction there were cars. And he came back to that car 3 times with keys that weren't for that car. And every time he'd get out and he'd push the button, and I'd hear a car somewhere in the facility honking, and it would be honking away, and he left. And so finally I realized there was a big long double line of cars behind me that had been returned as well. But suddenly I realized there were just a couple of cars, and there was room in front. So I went and I got in one of those cars, and lo and behold, the keys were in it. Because the ones in front of me, the keys weren't in it. That's what the guy's problem was. He couldn't find the keys. So the keys were in it. I was able to move. So here I am at the rental car place with like 100 people waiting to be served. And I've thankfully got the car that doesn't seem to work right. And I'm moving cars myself. And I got us out of there. And I get us out of there, and we go have a nice dinner with my friend Lisa. Had a good time, good beef on weck. If you're from Buffalo, you know what that is. And now we're staying at a hotel in a small town, suburb of Buffalo. And it's a nice hotel, fairly new, Hampton Inn. And we go to this Hampton Inn. And as we come in, as we're on our way in, this guy is like running back from the parking lot. And he just about knocks Dad and I over, running through the flower bed to like get in ahead of us. And he gets in, and the manager was in the little office behind on the telephone. And he kind of butts in front of everybody and says, "I just need a manager of a business, the business card of the manager." And so he's irate, and he's yelling, and he's upset that apparently he should have some different kind of room, and she doesn't have it. And so he leaves mad, and the people in front of me get taken care of. Then it's my turn, and I try to be nice to people, and so I kind of jokingly say, "Don't worry, I'm in a good mood. You know, like I'm happy. I'm happy." And she kind of laughs and apologizes, and I said, "Well, I had a situation at the Avis rental car, but I'm happy here, no problem." Checks me in, super pleasant, gives us our room. It's now like 9:30 at night. Dad and I go up to the room, and I swipe the key. The door opens, and I push it in 3 inches, and the safety lock thing is on. Boom, it won't open. So I'm thinking, is someone in this room? I don't know. I do it twice, which makes a lot of noise. So I think if someone was in the room, they would have been awoken by that. So I said, Dad, you stay here. He's a little tired walking around at this point. We walked airports and to and from things and stood around a lot at the car rental place. So I go down and I tell her, and she's, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. She said, sometimes that happens when they clean the rooms, the little lock flips across. And she says, she had this crooked piece of metal thing, and she says, I can pop it open. Good to know they're not that secure. Well, this door was extra tight. So she worked probably for, what, Dad, 10 or 15 minutes?
Yeah.
She worked 10 or 15 minutes. Dad, I should have videoed. Dad was trying to do it. So Mr. Engineer was slipping the metal in, and we were, pulling it shut, yanking on it and pushing it forward, and could not get it. And she gets the supervisor on the phone, and at one point it's a connecting room, and she goes into the room next door on the off chance that somebody's left something open and maybe she can get in, and she couldn't get in that way either. So she comes out and she says she went to get a different tool at one point. And I said, I take it by that guy that was upset that there's probably not another room. And she says, no, there's not another room. I'm sorry. So she goes and gets another tool. She tries that. That doesn't work. Now she's called like the supervisor who's like 25 minutes away to get here, who I think she thinks can magically get in the room. And she keeps pushing on it, and you can kind of see the thing is starting to get loose. So she's like, I've almost broken it. So she's like, screw it. And a few more bangs of that door, and boom, she's in. She's like, that'll be a problem for, I apologize, guys. That'll be a problem for another day, but I got you in. Because Dad's pleasant, but he's stewing a little bit like, it'll be 10:30. Like like he's tired. We've been up since like 5:30, 6 o'clock. So she lets us in, and we walk into the room, and I look and I see towels on the floor of the bathroom. And then I take another step in and I turn the light on, and I see 2 unmade beds, just stuff everywhere. The room has not been cleaned. The room is trashed top to bottom. And she's like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I apologize. She's like, let me clean this room, because now we know there's not another room. So she goes out in the hall, and she has to go down and try to like find cleaning supplies, and they weren't. And I said, we're gonna go down and sit in the lobby. Dad's doing a little bit. He's like, it'll be 10:30 by the time we get to bed. So we go down and sit in the lobby. She had to ride the elevator with us to a different floor to look for some cleaning supplies. And she finally comes, and we're down at the front desk. We're sitting in the lobby, and the phone's ringing off the hook because she's the only one here. It's nighttime. And she finally comes back down, and she comes over and she says, here's what I can do. She says, I have a room that's a king, if you guys want it and don't want to wait. Otherwise, the housekeeper's coming, and, but it'll be an hour before that room's, by the time the housekeeper comes and cleans that room. So likely the housekeeper couldn't get in, skipped it, didn't tell anybody. And she's like, and your night's going to be comped. So we said, it's just one night. Dad and I can share a king bed. So we took the single room to get in the room and get rested for the evening, because we're tired now. And thankfully we're just at this hotel one night, and then we move on to a different place. But it's one of those days, isn't it, Dad?
Yeah.
But we're glad to be home and glad to be visiting all the people we're going to visit. And again, this is the anniversary of Mom's death, so it's all small stuff in the great scheme of things. There's bigger problems in the world, and a rental car. Oh, the rental car. So I told you the screen wouldn't work. We couldn't get the screen to work. So I have dinner with my friend Lisa, and we come out, and I joke. I said, this is my piece of crap car, and wouldn't it be funny if the screen worked? And I fired it up, and she's like, I see Mazda. And it fired up, and it worked. So I don't know if the screen will work tomorrow, but it worked tonight. And I had radio and navigation and everything, which will be, it's not essential, but we're making a 5-hour drive later in the trip. So have a good night, everyone.